Luckily for Duncan, this guy also does machines. Here's your look at the brand new Mattel Turtles of Grayskull Donatello Heroic Turtle at Arms. Crossing dimensions isn't so bad, not if you're Donatello, and strike up a friendship with Man-at-Arms. When these two tech geniuses put their minds together, they can create turtle-inspired Eternian armor to combat Krang's mutants. An attack tracks turtle van when? Before, of course, we get a closer look. Come on, I can't be the only one that's thinking that. Attack tracks turtle van. Of course, before we get a closer look at the Turtles of Grayskull Donatello, the tape measure, of course, tells us that the figure's about 5.5 inches in height, or he's about 14 centimeters tall. Incredible ideas aside, bringing the original Master Universe Origins Man-at-Arms so you guys can see the differences of sizes. Sure, yes, one is a mutated turtle, one is just a guy that wears armor, but you can see that they scale pretty decently with one another. If you'd rather, though, have him paired along with Duncan from the cartoon line, he also, I feel, scales pretty good there as well. Another figure, of course, we can bring in is some of the earlier looked at Master Universe / Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle crossover figures. Here's what he looks like with the Turtles of Grayskull Leonardo. Here's what he also looks like with the Turtles of Grayskull He-Man. Now, of course, we still have yet to look at the Man-at-Arms. I did also want to bring in a couple of other figures as well. Here's what he looks like with the Donatello from, of course, NECA Toys. And even though it really doesn't necessarily belong in this timeline yet, I'm sure we're probably going to be getting one at some point. Here's what it also looks like with a regular foot soldier. Having already looked at this mini comic that came included with the half-shell heroes, we're now going to be looking at it again. Donatello still comes included with the By the Power of Pizza Turtles of Grayskull mini comic. Featured on the front is the mutated He-Man. Surrounding him, of course, is the four Turtle brothers. Off to the side, there's a Tila that I'm sure we're going to be getting at some point, and Man-at-Arms is in the bottom corner. All of the Turtles are wearing their respective armors, of course, colored accordingly to the colors of their bandanas. Funny enough, though, if you look at Donatello, Donatello's actually just carrying around his regular mace, not the full-length staff mace that he actually comes included with. Flipping, though, quickly through the pages, I did order these online. I don't know if it's going to be a case where if they happen to sell these, I can't even finish that sentence. If they try to sell these locally, which we know is never going to happen, here in Canadian stores we get squat when it comes to Motu stuff. I don't know if it's going to be the case where all the bubbles inside are actually going to have dialogue. Again, basing it only just by the idea that I've actually ordered this online from Entertainment Earth, I can tell you at least that the mini comics, and I'm sure it's probably going to be across the board, stop talking about the mini comics already. I'm sure they're probably going to have all the same dialogue. We've got some Mousers there off to the side as well. I'm really anxious to get myself that Mouser version of Trapjaw. Still, I think that the turtles look a little janky, to be honest. But again, like some of the best artwork, honestly, is the stuff that we're getting from all the Motu characters around them. I just don't think I like the turtles as much. Once again, we got a stellar looking Krang. One of my favorite looks for Krang is this one right here. It's also teased on the back, I believe, of Man-at-Arms card. So I'm sure we're probably going to be getting this version of Krang. It's just going to be an oversized figure. And of course, there's also the mutated He-Man. On the back, advertised Leonardo, He-Man, Donatello, and Man-at-Arms. How much time did we just take up talking about mini comics? Way too much? Way too much. Off to the side it goes. Now, Donatello also comes included with his mace. It isn't quite the same regular mace as what we would get with Man-at-Arms. Look at the size difference between the two. This is a normal sized mace that comes included with Man-at-Arms. This is the oversized version that comes now included with Donatello. I am very tempted, in fact, to actually have this displayed, maybe even with my cartoon collection Duncan. Bringing in Duncan right now. I mean, obviously, with the idea of these, you can really mix and match them. Although, like accessory, yeah, it still holds pretty well in his hand. Colors aren't really quite 100% matching. But yeah, if you want to have it displayed with Duncan, why not? Pillage it from the turtle, after all. Now, this, of course, does fit into his hands. He does have at least the means of gripping it with both of his hands. And it sits okay. I mean, it doesn't have as much the loose problems I had with the Donatello or the Leonardo's katanas. It actually fits pretty securely in his hands. And you can actually have him dual wielding it as well if you want to. Like though Donatello, like I keep saying Donatello, like with Leonardo's katanas though, if we take the staff mace off, you flip around to the back, there is actually storage. Now, I thought there was no way that a handle this thick would actually fit unsheathed on the back of the shell. And yet, once you get over past this point right here, it's smooth sailing. It stores perfectly fine on the back of the figure's body. What's strange, though, about it, as I just unsheath it right now, is that on the bottom of the mace, do we want to keep calling it a mace? We'll call it a mace. On the bottom of the mace, there's a strange shape to this that looks like it belongs to something on the figure. Now, I'm looking around on Donatello. Nothing that I can see, at least, would give me the idea that this is supposed to plug onto something. I don't know why it's specifically this shape, and why they just didn't carry over the round shape for the remaining of the handle, but it's an irregularly shaped kind of little slitted piece of plastic, but it doesn't look like it belongs to anything. I thought for a second, okay, maybe it attaches onto the end of his forearm. No, it doesn't attach there. I thought maybe if you detach the half shell, which it does, I thought maybe it could go onto the end of it and give him some sort of jousting weapon. I was thinking too far out the box. No, there doesn't seem to be a place where this looks like it attaches. Even if it attached maybe onto the side of his armor, it could almost be like he's carrying it around like a flag. I don't know. I don't know why this is supposed to be like this, but either way, though, it does fit in his hand, and it does fit, of course, on the back of his shell. Speaking of his shell, though, like Leonardo we looked at earlier, the shell you can either house on the back of the figure's body, or it can also detach. Although this one sits a little bit better than Leo's. It just attaches on the back like this, and it actually plugs in here and here, and it plugs with these pegs here and here. Once these are removed, you can then use it, though, as a serviceable shield. But then plugging it back in place, I noticed it does hold a lot better than Leo's. Maybe Leo's was just the problem. They had all the extra fur on the top of his torso that caused problems with the actual shield attaching in place. Still, it's a strange thing, though, that when you do remove the shield, just taking it off like that, underneath you'll still see that they've sculpted on a half shell. I don't know why they've done this. They did it also with Leonardo's as well. I'm just going to bring in Leonardo. It looks to be also the case that they're using the exact same bodies, coloring them accordingly to what regular Leonardo and Donatello would be in part of the original Playmates line. But still, though, if you look at the back of it, strangely, though, they've sculpted a shell on the back of the figure's torso. Again, either this is supposed to be their shell, or this is supposed to be their shell. If this is supposed to be the shell that's supposed to belong to the turtle, and then this is just armor over top of it, why wouldn't they have just at least painted this so it drove home at least the idea? Because looking at it the way that I'm looking at right now leads me to think that Mattel had designed an idea with this being sculpted and just abandoned it in favor of putting a shell on the back. Because again, like, if this is supposed to be their... Am I talking too much about this? Maybe I am. If this is supposed to be his half shell, why would they have even sculpted that on the back of the figure's body? Okay, I'll stop talking about it. What I will, though, talk about is the idea that you can take the shell, and like with Leo's, it just clips onto let me just flip it around the other way here. It just clips into the figure's hand like this. And then, of course, Donatello has himself the shield. I will say, though, about Donatello's, I don't know what it is about his hands. Leo didn't seem to give me as many of the problems, but I'm having more of a difficult time to get this into his hand. There we go. It's not in there 100%. And by the way, it is also a similar, in fact, almost identical shield than the one we also got as well for Leonardo. So it looks to be the case that they're using the same mold again. Removing these and putting them off to the side. The thing about the turtles, and maybe the thing that doesn't have me as maybe interested in this as I am with the Motu stuff, is just the fact that looking at their armor, it's literally just a turtle figure with then armor over top of it. I mean, in a way, this is supposed to be a turtle at arms, the equivalent turtle version of Man-at-Arms, but like in a way that kind of Leonardo's doing the exact same thing. It's literally just armor over top of a turtle's body. For what we get actually with Donatello, it looks good. The helmet is one thing that doesn't come off to the figure. So whereas we actually got the chance to kind of see a fully sculpted version of Leonardo, we don't get as much of that here for Donatello because, again, like the helmet's going to cover over top of this. It's all molded as one piece. He still, though, has a little bit of the bandana sticking out the bottom of his helmet. So that's a nice little touch also there as well. The colors, though, match the colors that you would expect for Donatello. Purple, and all more purple. He has sort of like the face guard that Man-at-Arms would have. Bringing back in just the Man-at-Arms here for Master Universe Origin so you guys can see. Very much a similar sort of design of armor, obviously just to the fact that they just designed it differently to give it more of the look of it's actually looking like shell rather than actually the armor that Man-at-Arms would normally have. Now, this is actually one thing that is still a separate piece, but it sits a little bit more securely, I noticed here on Donatello, that it was maybe on Leo. Leo's armor sat a little looser, maybe just to accommodate the idea that he had the fur on the back of the figure's torso. He still has, though, the problem that always goes with Man-at-Arms figures, is that when you add all this armor on top of his arm, for example, it shifts around a lot. He has it on this side too, but actually on this side, it's actually more just like a little ringlet, whereas it actually has the full guard here on the top and the bottom of his forearm as well. Some nice additional silvers added in there as well. You've got the silver there on the front, silver down below. I mean, it looks to be the case that if I was to bring back in, yeah, it looks to be like they're probably using the same legs. Funny, though, that even though it's a turtle, they are using the same legs as a regular Master Universe Origins figure. And, of course, the only thing that's then different is they've also added slightly different armor down below here, which just straps in. You can see it straps the way it does on the side. So, again, it's going to be a little bit loosey on the actual figure itself. Now, for Leonardo and Donatello's articulation, they seem to be shared. Obviously, it goes without saying that they're probably going to be using as well the same articulation as all the other Master Universe Origins figures. So Donatello, his head does rotate back and forth. It goes up, it goes down, and it goes back and forth as well. As for his arms, they are ones that hinge out at 90 degrees. You can take those arms and rotate them all the way around. Single hinge on the elbow, a rotation back and forth on the forearm. These rotate all the way around. He has a swivel on his waist, legs split out. They go forward, they go back. It's bend at the knee, rotation, all the same fun stuff that we always get with the Master Universe Origins figures. And again, you got your ankle pivot. Nice looking figure, but again, like I don't know if I'm loving, I keep saying this, I know I'm not really loving as much the line when it comes to the actual turtles. I like the stuff that goes along with the turtles. The turtles, again, are just okay for me. I'm still going to be definitely interested to get the Raphael and the Michelangelo, so at the very least, I could say I have all the 4 Turtle Brothers displayed on the shelf. But when it comes to certainly displaying them, I don't think I'm going to be displaying them with the Motu stuff. I'm rather instead going to be displaying them on their own, for their own respected subcategory of the main line. While I still don't know why there's a thinner piece of plastic on the bottom of the staff like this, because it does look like the way they've designed it, like it's supposed to attach onto something else. I've tried checking with the shield, I checked on the back of the figure's torso, and yet there's nothing that seems to give me the indication that that's supposed to plug into something. All this time of just thinking about where it's supposed to go, ultimately I know where it's supposed to be going. It's not going to necessarily be displayed, I think, with Donatello. Rather, I think I'm going to be using this mace displayed with one of my Man-at-Arms. Whether it's going to be displayed with the Origins Man-at-Arms or maybe the cartoon collection, I kind of like the longer length of it, and I would really like to maybe use it for a Motu figure rather than Donatello. Sorry, Donnie. I think you're going to have to swap out maybe your accessory with something else. Once again, you do get a turtle that does have a removable half shell. Underneath the half shell is still an unpainted turtle shell that you almost for a second don't even notice it's there because he has the bandolier armor over top of it. I do wish that, if anything, they could have painted it. Now, granted, the armor and the way they've designed it, the shell looks so close to the figure's torso. I feel in a way they probably should have just left it off completely. I mean, honestly, obviously they would have had to sculpt the front of the torso to mimic that of a turtle shell, but the back of it, I think they could have just left it plain and just used the shell that he has removable as really the shell that belongs to the turtle in the first place. The colors are good on Donatello here, now getting purple instead of the blue that we got with Leonardo, and all in all, it's again a nice looking figure. My goal still in mind is probably to collect all the turtles. I don't know if we're probably going to be getting any secondary characters after that. Whether we are going to be getting like an April O'Neil dressed in some Eternian armor, we're going to get a Splinter, I don't really even know. I know we are going to be getting a Shredder. Shredder I've already ordered, and I'm definitely excited to get that one. Not only because I think the Shredder looks really good, but it also throws back a little bit to the way that the original Playmate Shredder had him depicted. Good old shirtless Shredder. But what do you guys think of Donatello here? Have you been collecting any of the brand new Turtles of Grayskull figures? If you have at least picked up the first wave, or just based on these reviews so far, what would you say is your favorite figure from the first wave? I think that based on what I've looked at so far, I'd have to probably say He-Man. I don't know if that necessarily will change when we look at Man-at-Arms. Of course, Man-at-Arms is next in line for what we're going to be looking at here on this channel. The key to making sure that you're not missing out on any of this is, first of all, if you guys did enjoy this video, I want to throw it a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing and you're on board to see the remaining reviews of the first wave, at least, of Turtles of Grayskull, we aren't, by the way, just stopping with the first wave. I have already ordered the other figures from the second wave, and they're just on their way shipping to me as we speak. So, of course, we are going to be continuing the rest of this line, the rest of the Turtles of Grayskull, as they continue to make them for the folks over at Mattel. If you guys did also want to pick these up for yourself, they are available at Entertainment Earth. That's at least where I picked them up. You can click the link down below in the video description. That link will also save you 10% on anything that's currently in stock. But backtracking to what I was saying, guys, if you did want to stick around for more and you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button down below, turn on the bell notification, and most importantly, making sure you're coming back here regularly. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.